My name is Jennifer Evans again. I work at NC State University and also help to coordinate the Surpass Prescribed Fire Work Group. And a little over a month ago, I had sent out a survey to all of you in the room, and I had asked you some questions about your thoughts for this meeting and thoughts for communications, and so I'm just going to go through some of those responses very quickly. There's also a poster on the wall over there that has some of it outlined as well. So the purpose of the survey was really just to understand the barriers and recommendations to effective fire communication, to figure out what the needs are, what are we missing, what do you need, what are the existing efforts that are already occurring throughout the region, how do we use social media, and then how do you evaluate the good work that you're doing? Is it being evaluated? So we asked 63 of you, 53% of you responded, and this was a wide mix of landowners, consultants, agency, NGO. For those of you who are on the line, I would encourage you as I go through this, if you have something that you would like to add to it, feel free to incorporate it into the chat window, and we'll make sure to capture that later as well. So we're hoping that the responses here kind of capture, it wasn't meant to be all-inclusive, but just kind of get a picture of what's going on throughout the region. So we asked people what their barriers were to communicating with landowners and consultants, and the top 4 were kind of resources, as we've already talked about: funding, time, staff. You can see some quotes there that were captured directly from the surveys. Liability, their employees don't feel comfortable talking to landowners because they themselves aren't educated enough on prescribed fire, and then also providing communication to the correct audience. Some recommendations they all recommended were some more targeted efforts to collaborate more, some joint messaging, maybe a little more focus on the one message, many voices campaign that you already have done some of that, more information sharing. And that's in contrast to looking at the public a little bit separately. What did you find with the barriers there? They were slightly different, so you don't have a lot of direct interaction with the public necessarily. There's not enough organization among the partners. And so you can see some of the recommendations here: more public events, more collaboration with agencies and organizations who do advise the public. We asked you, are there any words or phrases and messages that really resonate that you use? And this is an interesting list. You can see, some of the things that we've already talked about today: good fires. We have the quote that Lane had given earlier. We talk about using the word flammable rather than fuels, bringing up the economics of fires. Using controlled versus prescribed. If any of these are, this can all be brought up in discussion later. What are those really target words and target messages that we want to get across to landowners that make sense? Wildlife habitat was another one that was mentioned. And so this, I just wanted to bring this up. This was from the Partners in Fire Education had created this language, and so you can see it. They have some other suggested language there that, again, controlled burn versus prescribed fire, natural areas versus ecosystem or landscape. So these are maybe words and messaging that we can talk about later to see if these are things we should be thinking about incorporating. Where do you currently direct landowners and consultants when asked about prescribed fire? And you can see there is quite a long list there. I'm sure that probably varies depending on the type of question that you're asked by folks. There's also the Good Fire, the Visit My Forest website that were included. And this one was all inclusive. I tried to capture everything that was mentioned in your responses. We asked you, well, what do you need to communicate better? What would be helpful to you? And so these are just a few examples. Some concise fire handouts that really tells the story, provides resources where they can go to learn more, some really audience-specific materials, and then an up-to-date landowner resource guide with information from the partners. Also a brochure detailing the steps of how to become a certified burner, finding financial assistance, hiring a private contractor, some reprints of some other materials, and information dealing with risk and prescribed fire resources. So if some of those needs that you just saw that you have or you know of, please feel free to share with the group and let them know that these resources may already be available. We asked you, do you use social media? Only less than 50% of you said yes, and that was primarily due to policy restrictions, target audience not being online, inadequate staffing to keep current. And for the target audience not online, I'd be curious to talk to those people who wrote that question if there was some data behind that or if that was just your personal perception. I'm not sure if that information is actually out there, but that would be interesting to know if it was. And again, if you do use social media, how effective actually is it in reaching landowners specifically? And again, number one reason was target audience doesn't use social media, and I don't know if that's a perception or if that's actual data, but also it's not very personal, and most of the followers are either academia or professional, again, not the target audience for landowners. So in your red folders, you were provided a list of we had asked you, what are your most successful prescribed fire efforts, and also what are your least successful? And so in your red folder, you actually have a document that contains all of the responses that you all provided as to what were the most and least successful. So just kind of lumping those into different categories. If you look at the most successful, they can be lumped into either communications, workshops, or partnerships. So they're collaborative and cooperative, a mix of hands-on, written, and visual, or goal-oriented, hybrid setting, and they're designed for that specific audience. We were asked for the most least successful. These are meant to be learning from one another, but it was found that there was just a lack of collaboration. It's not consistent enough. It doesn't reoccur as frequently to make it useful. Some marketing issues, no live demonstrations included, lack of staff, and poor messaging. So we asked you how you evaluate, if you evaluate your short-term success, and almost half of you say yes, you did, and that was either through post-event surveys, national surveys, analytics, or course evaluations. For those of you who either didn't know or unknown, that could be something we talk about at this meeting too. How do we evaluate our work? How do we know if the work that we're doing is successful in getting more prescribed fire on the ground? When asked about long-term success, it was slightly less, with not even 30% saying yes for this one. But those who did say yes, we track our long-term success. It was through tracking changes in burn acreages on the ground. You're seeing an increase in acres burned. You're seeing an increase in number of trained practitioners, and by conducting public acceptance surveys. And when you were talking about if it supports an increase in prescribed fire in your area, the ones who did say yes, and that was by engaging agencies and NGOs, keeping open lines of communications, finding new partners, field days, websites, multiple forms of communication. But when you talk about, we had this whole question around frequency and scale, and so we asked the question, did you feel that your efforts are supporting an increase in prescribed fire at the appropriate scale and frequency? And you can see some of you said not at all, that's not taken into context, some of you slightly. A majority of you did say somewhat. And this was due to success on public lands, but from your comments, it seems that there may still be a challenge on private lands. And so that was all I had.